Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Aurora Open. Last day of quarterfinals. We are one game away of understanding who's going to take on the semifinals and then the finals for this beautiful winter season. My name is Alexandre Maya. I will be your host, and I have the pleasure to work with Eragon. And for the first time online, you were telling me about that one, 9 minutes. So, Eragon, how you feeling?
I'm back. I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm super excited to work with Nymera for the first time. I've never been on desk with him, so I think draft's going to be a blast.
Oh,
Yeah, we've
exactly.
been in the same studio, but we've actually somehow never been on the same segment. So I too am enjoying, looking forward to working with Aragon, and I guess you're here too.
So, as I said, it's the last day of quarterfinals, and since you guys are working for the first time, we decided to bring something special for both of you. We're going to play a game right from the start, just to,
lovely.
bring
I'm
the
so good at games.
ambience. Oh, okay. Talking about games, so it's going to be Pick a Who, which is mostly I present an image, or the production is going to present you an image, and you will have to tell me which champion that skill belongs to and what ability it is. So either it's the Q, the W, or even passives, by the way. Then, if you can, give me the name of the skill, and you'll be rewarded with another point. So 1 point for telling me what skill it is and into which champion it belongs, and another point if you get me the name. Nymera,
Yes,
I've
hello.
heard 1 minute ago that you were the pop quiz winner of LEC.
Some do know me for being pretty okay at LEC pop quiz.
So if you lose today, we're going to
I will
revoke
be
that.
heartbroken, shattered, maybe even crushed. Yes.
I have a new objective on desk.
I'm a little intimidated. Honestly.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start one by one. I'll toss it to you, Eragon, with the first one, and if you are horrible at it, we'll toss it to Nymera so he has a shot to clear that one. So let's play Pick a Who. The first one is...
That's Mordekaiser's E.
My man, Eragon, right from the top. Eragon's getting the first one.
Though?
But can you give me the name?
Oh my gosh. Is it Deathbringer Grasp or something else? Something Grasp?
Wait. Pause. Tell me again.
Man. No, I gotta pass.
You were onto something.
It's Death's Grasp.
Death's Grasp. Really? I was so close.
So 1 point for both of you. I need to actually point this on. Okay, 1 point for both of you right now for the first skill. Okay. Oh, Nymera is feeling clean. Look at that face. Look at that
I'm
face.
getting a little bit anxious here now, though. What do you got?
Second skill. Give it to me.
Now that is interesting.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
I brought this one specifically for you because I know you're the champion of pop quiz.
What the hell is that?
What the hell is even that? Daddy Shell.
So for me, it looks like either like, it's no. See, the thing is that there are so many things running through my head right now. It looks like an arrow or a spear or something like that.
This is not Bleach, by the way. No, it's not.
Is this? It's, I don't know, because
I'll give you a tip. I'll help you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3.
That's the help. Silver Bolt's vein.
That was really close, but it's not even close. It's not the champion. It's not the skill. It's not anything. Eragon, tossing it over to you. I was talking about chill. I was talking about cold. I was talking about that. It's a passive.
Right.
Why would you tell him that?
Is it Ash's passive?
No.
No, it's not. That's not. What is it?
Well, let's move on because the second one, nobody's going to get it. It's called Call of Freljord, which is Nunu's passive.
Bro.
No. Who plays that champion?
Nobody. Did you need Don J?
Did you do this for Don J? The one Nunes player within the US.
I did it just for you, Nymera. Third one, Eragon, it's up to you. Let's show the skill. This is an easy one. You got this.
This is Samira's ultimate or W? Oh, shoot.
No. Take your time. Which champion is this?
I hate that smirk, Nymera. I hate it so much.
What is the champion? Let's start with the champion.
Okay, it's Samira.
Okay, good job.
Yeah.
So between Q, W, E, and R, which one is this?
I'm gonna say R.
You're gonna say R?
Yeah.
Lovely. That's incorrect. So tossing it to Nymera to see if he guesses.
Oh, god damn it.
It is Q and it's Flare.
It is. So he's going to get 2 points. Oh, yo.
Oh,
I
no,
say
man.
I thought it might be the passive, which is style. I think but that's yeah.
No, it's different, but it has an S,
Yeah.
so it's a little different. Let's start with the fourth one, though. It's really easy, Nightmare.
Oh, that's Shyvana's W burnout.
Wait, is
That's
it?
not
Are you
fair.
going to say it? Wait. Do you want to lock it in? Are you sure, Nightmare?
Yes.
There's more champions with flames, by the way.
Get the Shyvana's W burnout.
I'm just giving you a tip. Do you remember that support brand?
Yes, I know that's a champion, but
I'm just giving you a tip.
no,
You
I
really
think
want to
it's
lock
Shyvana.
it,
Stop trying to psych me out. It's Shyvana W.
and the name is.
A burnout.
Actually, it is. Okay.
I know it is. I hate you so much.
I love it. So that's the fourth one. It's now the score is now to 1 and 5, Aragon.
What do you
This
mean?
is do or
Wait,
die.
Didn't I
because
get the Samira's name? Doesn't champion count?
I'll give it 1 point.
I'll allow Aragon 1 point.
Okay.
On the
I'll just
fifth
sit here and
one,
I'll enjoy my coffee.
Aragon, this is important.
Yeah.
If you land the last one, you get 7 points.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
This is
important.
fair. Yeah.
So let's show the skill.
That's Udia turtle stance.
Take your time. Let's go step by step again. What's the skill and what's the champion? That smirk is back. The smirk is back. I can't
There's no
deal with
way.
this.
Nah, he's trying to psych me out. It's Udia W turtle stance.
I really tried.
It is Udir W, but it is no longer called Turtle Stance.
Is it not?
It's
No.
not.
What
It
is it?
Its name is.
No, the problem is I can't remember the exact name of it. I think
Wait.
it is.
You don't know?
So it is still the W. I'm just trying to remember
Yeah.
if it is.
But that's Aragon's points. Those are 3 points for Aragon because it's 7 and yeah.
I just can't remember the name of it because it's now. I think it's on effectively. Oh no, it's not. No, it's not because on is now the Ram.
He doesn't know.
I don't know it.
Chat,
I actually
he
don't
doesn't
know.
know.
I don't know this one. I will. Yeah.
When you are cold, what do you put on your shoulders though?
What coat? Oh, is
At
this
home.
a blanket?
I'm really trying to help, but guys, it's not working.
An open fire. Yeah, it's actually Udir's W open fireplace stance.
I want to say hoodie, but I don't feel like that fits the theme.
Yeah,
So
it's actually the Udir's central heating stance.
Yeah. No, I can't.
The name
got
of the
this.
skill is Iron Mental. You know.
Iron Man.
Nobody says mantle. Nobody thinks they're gonna put on their mantle because they're cold at home.
Nobody thinks they're gonna put a hoodie because they're cold at home.
Archerom, I am back from the hunt. Bring me my mantle. It's cold.
So effectively, at the end of the game, since you got the skill and the champion at the last one, Aragon, you're not going to get 7 points. You're only getting 3, which means it's going to tie up 5 and 5. So it's a tie between Aragon and Nymera. That was a lovely game, and I thought the pop quiz lord would be better at this. Let's move on with the show because we have Riddle and Bifrost, two teams from Division 1 from NLC Summer Split who went really far, are going to be facing each other on the best of 5. But in order to understand that, let's show the bracket to see where we are currently. Lovely. We have JDXL versus Australis Talent on the semifinals on the left side. Dusty waiting for the winner of this one. And disregarding this game, gentlemen, what can we say about the rest of the bracket? Any surprises whatsoever? Because this is the first time I get to ask you this, Nymera. But let's start with you, Aragon.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest surprise has to be objectively natives, right? I don't think you can call the rest of the series surprises. I think you kind of expect 3-0s, but natives holding their own, and honestly, it looked like it could have gone to 5 games at one point. I think that was the biggest surprise to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think natives really, they punched above their assumed weight. I actually want to give a real shout out to Ruddy as well. Australis Talent had, well, if you look at their quarterfinals versus Raid, that wasn't particularly close. Ruddy actually managed to hold their own, and they kind of threw their own games in a little bit of, they threw it back and forth, but I think they were pretty impressive. And then also, X7 dipping out, that was one which I was like, okay, I know there's been some roster changes, but still dropping out 2-1 in the round of 16, that was fairly unexpected considering that they did have overall a pretty good group stage as well. They did drop the one game to Cabbage Family, a team which I'm very familiar with as well. But I think actually in that bottom left of the bracket, there are a couple of names there I'd want to highlight, for better and for worse.
Okay, I agree with you both. It's an interesting cup, at least in my opinion. This Aurora Open has brought a lot of surprises and a lot of new names to the table as well. I'm interested to see when the open season, when people start shifting teams, how things are going to be ending up, especially with NLC on 2023. Let's understand what is going to happen as soon as we reach that point. But now it's about Riddle and Bifrost, two teams from Division 1. I keep highlighting that one because they both have a lot of story, and that's exactly where we're going to dive in right now. Let's start with Riddle, if I'm not mistaken, just to make sure we understand effectively what Riddle were
Yeah.
about. So tell me about it, Naimera.
Well, Riddle are a team which had such an intriguing journey over this year in particular. Of course, Riddle are a team which have been around for many years at this point, but zeroing down into this year's spring, they were a team that were known as kind of like the hero play team because they kind of had to make hero plays. It was Baron steals, it was crazy outplays. And they managed to take a huge name of JDXL in the playoffs. They managed to beat them. Of course, they ended up losing versus Dusty later into that bracket as well. But in spring, Riddle really took some heads. And coming into Summit, they changed up everything. And I got to say, I raised a couple of eyebrows at them. I raised both of my eyebrows. That's what a couple of eyebrows means. Anyway, but like they came into Summer and it felt like they had somehow changed all their players, but retained some of that identity. Kevo came in from Vanir of Spring, and they brought in Jax Plank, Vladdy at that point too. But there was a real feeling that they were not just a hero play team, because they were, but they also managed to play a very strong identity, playing towards that top side. And arguably, they were the second best team in the regular season for the majority of the split. They were the team to beat besides JDXL before their collapse as well. Riddle in Summer really had a massive glow up, but then sadly, once again, kind of dipped off towards those playoffs. So kind of seeing the rise and fall of this team, seeing the best and the worst, was a very interesting journey to follow.
So would you say this is a perfect opportunity, Aragon, for them to come back with this roster and show themselves, okay, it was a fluke on Summer Split. We can actually go higher than we anticipated in Summer.
So the interesting thing is, I came in Summer in July. Okay, I did my prep on all the teams. I hadn't watched NLC beforehand, so I had to like really look at all the teams to see their progress over the Summer Split. And I was never sold on them. Right, everyone had them hyped up. I immediately predicted Dusty to win the whole thing, and I was like, "No, Riddle sucks."
Did.
Right, I was, and the reason for that, right, was immediately I saw they're just a one-trick pony team. Right, the way they drafted every single game was the same. I don't know what that's because of. Maybe it was one of the players. They really believe this is the way you play the league. They always draft triple scaling lanes, and then do nothing and play to Stonewall and then outscale, and that's all they did all summer long. And you know, they're kind of doing it still. And I'm not a fan. I think it might stem from maybe Stefan or someone in the jungle, but are they gonna prove something this tournament? I don't think so, given last series and the games before.
No matter. Do you want to chip into this one as
Sure,
well? Do you
absolutely
agree with
can,
this?
yeah.
Because I love his
yeah,
perspective.
no, I
He
understand
told
that
me
because
this
there's
as soon as he met me. He told me this. So Nightmare, tell me your perspective.
there's I can agree that there is some greed, shall we say, in that. However, when you're playing at this level and you look at the enemy team across the rift, you say, if you make one mistake, those scaling lanes are not something you can overcome. That happened quite a lot with Jax Plank, where you'd make one mistake in a 1v1 with him, suddenly takes a kill, maybe takes 2 kills if a jungler's up there too, and then you just don't win that game. And at the NLC level, that really worked out well for them, because they had a lot of people who were confident to outplay, to get ahead of that early game trough. Now, maybe there are some problems with that against teams which can really skill check them. And we did kind of see that, particularly there was one particular game against JDXL where I think it was Dan on Shyvana, ganked top lane just one time, killed a Gangplank in a Tryndamere matchup. Game just ended.
Yeah.
But I love their ability to just like look at you and just say, if you ever step wrong, the game is over. And that worked for them for the majority of summer.
Yeah.
But I do have to agree with you, Eragon. It's one of those moments that if you camp the top lane on the best of 5, maybe Jax Plank will fall short. And let's see if the team is capable of bringing it back. So we have an idea how Riddle works in their past. So let's look into Bifrost and understand what happened in spring, summer, and what is happening right now. Because there's a lot of changes, correct, Eragon?
Yeah. I mean, they've gotten rid of their bot lane and introduced a new bot lane. And honestly, they kind of play the complete opposite now. It's really interesting. Back in the green room, Naimera was saying they flipped the script on where they play for. It used to be for Odie in the bot lane, and now it's for the solo laners. So this tournament, I don't think we've seen the solo laners get challenged. Yeah, like just straight up, I don't think they have at all. Fury and Shikari, I think they've been phenomenal. I think we're going to see some stats soon on Shikari, and he's died once, per game on average. It's absolutely mental, and I don't think he's going to get challenged that much by Jaxplank as well, given his current form. I think he was losing out against Coolberg on Chaos, and I think Coolberg's a much worse top laner, no shade to him, than Shikari, because I think Shikari's that.
And Shikari's just a different beast.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. And Nightmare, I want to look into you on this one. And we're going to keep this layer, if possible, this overlay. The fact that on Spring Split, Bifrost were the heroes of NLC. The way they went into new masters, the way they were shining on new masters. They came into Summer Split. And effectively, it was not the same. So
No,
I would
it
say
wasn't.
Riddle are trying to make up to what happened on Summer Split. But I think Bifrost are looking for the same, no?
I agree. I think, and now we have both of these teams which are coming into this
Yeah.
series without actually, they went 6-0 in groups, the both of them. They are coming in with a full head of steam, and they're looking to kind of overturn some of those expectations from summer. Bifrost, stellar spring, got to those finals, did lose out in there, went through play-ins at EU Masters, and ended up in the quarterfinals. Bifrost massively overperformed compared to the public perception of them. Summer couldn't match that expectation. Now they have one more chance here against one of their regional rivals, and of course the NLC Div 1 rivals of Riddle, to really just smack some heads, crack them, and then see what they can do to really change those expectations at the last gasp of this year.
Only one team can move on from this one, and both teams are trying to show up what they're capable on the Aurora Open to end up the year with a big bang. Obviously, let's talk about individual players. Let's start with Riddle. Let's start with Kevo. And I want to understand, why did we pick Kevo to
Yeah, why did we,
highlight?
Aragon?
Right. Okay. So the thing is with Keva for me, right, is
Yeah.
I also don't think the rest of his team's playing that well. I mean, you look at the stats and you're like 21st, 31st. What does this mean? Like, is it even that good? But I just want to highlight that Nash has been dying early lane phase multiple times, and despite that, he's still performing very well. Every single time I see a skirmish, I look at Kevo and I'm just like, this is everything I could never be. Every single movement he dodges every single skill
click,
shot and
good click,
goes.
good click.
He's just so good mechanically. I even have a note back from summer where I was prepping for the teams. I was trying to find highlight players, and I have Kevo mechanical question mark, because at the time I didn't know him, and now I'm just sold.
So that's why you wanted to highlight Kevo. So
is-
let's look into the other side. Or do you want to jump
Well,
on
no,
this
we can use this as a segue actually, because I think for Riddle, in summer, they were the story of Jaxplank in a lot of ways. Get Jaxplank into a good matchup, you split push the game to death. Well, someone makes a mistake, similar kind of things, right? You end up just outscaling through the side lanes. Now it's about Kevo in a lot of ways. Kevo is like the rock, he's consistently performing. But what do we say about Bifrost? Oh, but they flipped the script too, because it used to be about Odie, about the Odie show. Let's play through bot lanes, 3-item team fights. Well, now it's about the solo laners. So let's go over to that graphic, because we've got Fury and we've got Shikari. Now, I did some prep today, and I sat down on Leaguepedia, and I went through all of Shikari's UK and NLC games. I believe he's played, up until this game, 264 games within our scene. This guy is one of the real old gods of the NLC and the UK scene, and he is so much better for it. He has a 12.13 KDA, one of the highest remaining in the tournament, has been absolutely schooling on Fools when he's had these good individual matchups. So Jaxplank is going to have to be held to account today. He has to stand up, because Shikari will absolutely blast the series without it. But he's not alone. Fury on Comfort, once again, on the Silas, on the LeBlanc, on Akali, has been absolutely shredding up a lot of these skirmish-style games. The solo laners from Bifrost are firing on all cylinders.
So, okay, now we get the grasp of how the teams are playing, but I want to understand, what can we expect from this best of 5? This is something that we didn't plan, and that's exactly why I'm going to ask. I want to understand what lanes should we looking forward, because we know top lane is going to be aggressive. The jungle is also going to be interesting, but where should our eyes be looking into this matchup?
Okay, so I think top lane's going to be a Stonewall lane, where you have a carry on one side for Jaxplank, and Shikari playing Stonewall because that's what he's good at, and not letting Jaxplank get a lead. I think the majority of the action is going to come from mid lane and jungle, and I believe what's going to happen is Bifrost is going to come out on top in mid jungle and bring that down to bot side and a gank bot lane, because I think their bot lane, Riddle's bot lane, is a weak point. Right, and I've been identifying that with Nash in this tournament. I think so. Ideally, what you do is you bring down Fury and dive bot lane. I think that's the best strat.
Okay.
Well, even in the quarterfinals, that's actually a really interesting read, because what happened to Riddle in their quarterfinals was actually mid-jungle went a bit awry, and bot lane had to soak the pressure after that point. They were getting dove by like Zed, Nocturne when they had that combo there. It was like, okay, while you do have a really good AD carry, he's got to be alive to actually do stuff, and that's where the problem comes in. I am a little bit worried for Riddle in this series because if you're playing a lot of champions, you look at the champion pool that they're playing around mid lane, they're not hugely prio champions. Now, you've got stuff like the Vex, which is pretty good, that can shove in early levels, but if you're against Fury and he's on something like a Sylas, which actually isn't getting pushed in, is actually just able to just get out of lane and start skirmishing early, I don't see how that goes well for Riddle. So for me, in a champion select way, I'm actually looking at mid lane. I really want to see this top lane be explosive, though. I know you're saying it's going to be a Stonewall lane. I hope we get something like the Aatrox versus... even Aatrox versus Renekton or something like that. Two bruisers
Jax,
which really have close 1v1s versus the Jax or something like that. I'd love to see that because just the pedigree of these top laners, these were probably two of our top 3 top laners in summer because you also had Chasey as well in X7. But those 3 were like the ones you're like, whew, that's some carry potential. They will have impact later into the game. That's what I'm looking for.
So now we're about to jump into pick and ban. I don't know if we still have time because we're 1 minute away or 10 seconds away from it. I want to understand what champion should we be highlighting as well that should be prioritized not only on picks but on bans. We know Aatrox, we know the Jax playing. What else?
Lucian, Varus, a lot of the AD carries are shared as well. I'm very interested in seeing whether we're going to have some awkward reads from these teams and saying, actually, where do we have shared champion pools? How does that affect things?
Oh, this was a fast ban. We got Udyr Graves, Yuumi, Sejuani, Azir, and by the way, Aatrox is open. But is Jax... okay. I was getting worried about that one. Shikari has been a beast. We got the Aatrox out. What is open? The Sylas is open, and I think both of them, but...
Maokai, Lucian, Nami, Sylas is also open, like you said. I think those are the picks. On the flip side, I think we're looking at, well, Greaves and Udyr are banned. That was on my top list. You have Yuumi, who's also banned. Belveth is a shout. They like to play that as well. So I think maybe highlight that. But it does look like they're going to handshake with Hecarim and Seraphine combination.
This is like the 2021 spring combo. Back at that MSI, well, just before that, Seraphine Hecarim was the ultimate wombo combo because Hecarim gets to dive in with an enchanter helping them, speed them up, giving them shields, but also giving them the extra follow-up engage. And especially since Hecarim has taken on more of a bruiser identity now, we're stacking Qs. The Seraphine helps keep them in the fight to keep doing that. And it also does really well at diving through a tidal wave, diving onto Illusion to stop them being so ice skater glass cannony.
Yeah, as always, the highlight, Fury. I love my boy Fury. So Sylas on Fury, this is something that we've seen before. He's a beast. What can we reply versus that Sylas? Is this the Akali angle?
It might have to be. But there's a lot of different... The problem is you need to be now start twinning up different kind of things in terms of saying, well, you've already got a Hecarim ult and a Seraphine ult, which are really annoying to give over. You're already giving over a host of powerful ultimates. I think you have to survive in lane, but I'm just not sure that Riddle have a lot of stuff. I think you have to go for something like a Vex, actually.
Yeah, I think he's been defaulting to Vex and Victor. Faison has been, which is really curious. I don't know, have you guys taken a look at his OPGG? It is by far the weirdest contrast between OPGG and what he's playing in competitive. He mains like Assassins and Akshan, and he's playing Ziggs and Victor, Like, it's very bizarre. But yeah, that's what he's been defaulting to. I agree, Vex is really good for him. Yep. Also, on the side of Fury, I'm really glad he's going for Sylas here. On top of being really good into the Hecarim, he performed really oddly on the Azir. I wasn't a big fan of it. His team fighting was really off micro-wise. So yeah, I think on Sylas, no matter what the matchup is, I think he's going to roll.
Yeah, and that's why I really look at that Vex, because you can... Maybe there's an argument for something like an Ari as well, because there always is when I'm on desk. But you're looking for something that can at least give you something in the mid lane. The rule of thumb, the golden rule with Hecarim, is that you lose all of your 2v2s until level 6, and then you win after that point. So you need a little bit of help getting through that early game. Seraphine Rel is going to hold lane, but it's not going to give you too much of a platform to base yourself off of. I'd imagine you're going to give last pick to Jax Plank, trying to give you something in that top side, a counter matchup. You've already lost 2 of your big top lane carries and danger lane picks there. I think you have to pick the Vex, just saying, all right, we will get something to push in level 1, one of the few champions that can do that against most matchups, actually, the Vex. Then after that point, you're looking towards something else. But instead, Aragon called it out. If the logic is push in level 1, give yourself a platform to fight around, Akshan does that. Lane bully.
I'm really glad because this is so different to what he's been playing all split. I really hope they finally incorporated his champion pool into the drafts. And the blind Fiora, that's really curious. That's why they were banning the Jax and the Darius. I wonder what Jax Plank had to answer this. I mean, the Gangplank is a staple counterpick back in the day. Range champions also work into the Fiora, stuff like the Kennen. Or Gnar range is also good. I think this is probably what he's going to go for, one of these 3 champions. I don't think you go Ornn here. Or Renekton.
when we talk, so I was actually chatting to a load of the LPL casters, and they were saying we were surprised that Fiora isn't being blind picked more, because it's the best blind pick in the LPL when you have loads of carry top laners. Now, Renekton was like the season 5 counter pick into Fiora, and this is now the mind game of can you hit W before Renekton does and get the and repass the empowered stun and all of that burst. This is, I love it. It's what I wanted for, just with the nameplates on. It is a skill matchup, melee versus melee, fighter top lane. I'm loving all of these lanes, actually. I mean, we'll see what the Seraphine ends up doing early on, but I love all of these lanes in terms of the interactivity they have.
I'm a bit concerned, right, for the side of Riddle, because they are full AD. I don't really consider Seraphine that much like ability power. Maybe you disagree, but I'm not a big fan of Seraphine as solo AP. I think you need a bit more somewhere else. I understand they've gone for the counter pick mid lane, but this is why I was highlighting the Kennen, because then you get a more even damage split, right? And now you've got a bajillion Tabai value and Seeker's Arm God value for the solo laners, so bit shaky there.
Let's make the question, boys. We need to understand who's going to win this first one. I need predictions.
Bifrost.
Oh, Bifrost. Right off the top, Eragon. Okay,
Yeah.
Bifrost for Eragon.
You've given interactivity and skill expression to the solo lanes of Bifrost, and you've also given an awkward bot lane to face against for you as Riddle, actually. I think Bifrost have a lot of comfort. I think they'll come away with it, but I see the win conditions through the early game lanes into the Hecarim Seraphine late game from Riddle. Still give it to Bifrost, though.
So it's still 2 for Bifrost on the desk, but let's toss it to the casters of today. The voices that are going to be shouting through 5 games, I hope, are no other than Duckling and M-Test. Take it away, boys.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, here to the caster desk. A Dane and a Swede walk in and 2 Norwegian talk shop. I don't know how that happened, but somehow we're here in test, and it is going to be a banger. 2 Norwegian powerhouses will hopefully be pushing each other all the way here tonight.
I mean, yeah, I already love the drafts coming from both teams. I mean, Bifrost staying true to their character, playing around mid and the top a lot. I mean, I think Faith this time around on the Jarvan, he has so many lanes to play through, and that usually can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing because you have to at least surrender at least one lane, right? And in this game, they have like 3 different carriers: the Sylas, the Fiora, the Lucian with the Nami. We all know that these champs are made to carry if they're ahead, but can Faith get them all ahead when he's playing against Renekton and Akshan? I mean, man, I'm really excited about this one. This quarters, I think it's gonna be the best one in the tournament. I'm just gonna call it.
It's going to be a banger, and keeping the talk on Faith, trying to look into this player is super duper hard because you got his Leaguepedia. He's played in some Turkish academy in 2019, and then he just disappeared for 3 years, and now he's here on Bifrost in the Aurora Open, and it is exciting to see because I don't really know what to expect. I don't have any recent competitor results to look at and say, yeah, this guy looks to have had success down in Turkey or anything like that. So I'm excited to see what this guy can show on the job, and he has, as you said, a lot of responsibility to try and get his laners ahead.
Yeah, for sure, right? And you said it's hard to like read this guy because you don't really have the history for him. And looking at this OPGG, you get even more confused. For people who don't know, Faith right now is in Challenger, and he has over 70% win rate on Elise with like over 100 games. Like that's actually insanity. Like and the fact is, it's even funnier. He's playing Jarvan and Sejuani pretty much the whole tournament. Like he's only playing these kind of tanks. I think he pulled out at least 1 game and he was completely smurfing on that pick. But other than that, he's just playing to facilitate his strong solo laners in Fury and Shikari.
It has been the solo laner show here for Bifrost, a real transition for them, going from playing mainly around Odie in both spring and summer splits this time around. Someone like Fury and Shikari get a bit more time to try and get some more carry-oriented picks, especially for Shikari, underneath his build here. I think it was 264 games, number I said this guy's played in the UK and Nordic scene, and yeah. I'm gonna be honest, that is insane, and definitely a legend of the scene over all these years, as he will meet up with Jack Spike just for a short little exchange, nothing that should be leading to anything explosive, but a nice little trade here for the veteran.
Yeah, I mean, good knowledge there of Shikari. Maybe he can actually deny a few creeps here, doesn't look like it. I think Jack Spike actually got all the CS there, but the thought of that trade for Shikari is not really to win the lane there, but to make sure that he can deny Jack Spike a few CS. Not sure if we were able to do that in the end, but nice idea from Shikari. The UK, maybe the UK faker as we've been calling him, because if he has that many games, he's for sure like such a veteran, which is so crazy to see because I think he's 22 or something. I mean, he's been in the scene for so long, and the fact that he's not even that old is just really crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, you took my word there, crazy. It is insane. It's very exciting to see. I think, especially with our scene up here in the Nordics and UK, it has been a bit tumultuous for the past couple of years. A lot of things has changed here and there, and setups and everything around has changed. But this guy has been the one consistent factor, And it is very nice to see as the laning phase has really progressed. Obviously, Lucian Nami will have to push down here in bot lane, but I want to keep our eyes on the junglers, in particular Faith. Where will he go early on M-Test?
Yeah, I mean, Faith, right, as we've been saying, he has so many options this game, right? He's actually doing the full kill right now on the Jarvan, not something that we really used to see. But, I mean, he has to get both. I feel like he has to get everyone ahead in this game. I feel like that's why it's such a hard job for Faith, because he has Sylas, he has Lucian, he has Fiora, who all likes a little bit of attention, especially Shikari. He's playing really well in this lane so far, but still he's up against that Renekton. It's gonna be so difficult to be able to snowball that lead 1v1. We see him right now, going for that bot scatter, should be able to secure it with the bot pride that he has for himself. And yeah, I mean, obvious, right? If you're playing Lucian Nami, you want to be able to get this lane ahead, because if Lucian Nami are not ahead, they are not as strong as we've been seeing in Worlds, right? I mean, we see Gumayusi when he's ahead on this champion, he's just absolutely cracked.
And normally, and some things I've seen quite a lot up against this Lucian Nami is things like the Aphelios, maybe a Lulu as well. So a late game scaling AD carry, but this is a very different take into the matchup. What is Riddle's plans with this? Is it just to survive and then play for the team fights? Or how do they want to really utilize this Seraphine Riddle combo?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? When you see when they just pick, I think Bifrost, they picked Lucian Nami rotation really early in the draft, and Riddle just decides to answer with Rel and Seraphine, which is the two champions that are really good in the team fights, right? But in laning phase, they are not gonna be able to achieve much. You see right now, the bot lane is actually pushing in favor of Riddle, which is not something that is good when your jungler is on the top side. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Seraphine, Kevo, he has been famous for just really playing the weak side for his team. I think when you're picking Rel in this draft, you're already saying to Kevo, man, you're gonna be on an island, you're gonna be alone, farming up while I'm helping my solo laners out. But right now, Nash is stuck in the laning phase, and you see Kenan and QuickTime really abusing this.
Look for and maybe even go for an all-in, so I'm kind of holding my breath. It feels like there is tension down here, but for now, nothing really happening. So I think it's important to go out and highlight how big of a Norwegian matchup this actually is. It is a matchup that has been happening for a couple of years, not really in the same division because Bifrost has been playing in the National League while Riddle has been in the NLC, but there is a thing over in Norway called Telja League, and that's where these two teams usually duked it out in the group stage and in the playoffs as well. They even played a final once where Riddle did 3-0, and before Bifrost made it all the way up into the NLC, Riddle had a 6-1 head-to-head score against Bifrost. They won 6 games, only dropped a single one throughout all these different years. But coming into the Bifrost NLC era, Bifrost started flipping the script and really having the upper hand here against Riddle, going 3-1 against them this year.
Yeah, and let's see if that trend can keep up today, right? I mean, both of these teams undefeated in the Aurora Open so far, and today it's pretty much the first time they actually faced the one competition in this tournament, and this is gonna be the true test for them. Can they withstand? Because obviously it's gonna be such a different thing here. Everyone is gonna be playing the lanes pretty much a lot better than if you're facing maybe weaker competition, and this is gonna affect them so much. But Bifrost now looking for something in his bush.
Just reading the play, so he's there to counter, but facing locked up early on, good flash away. And Nash won't look to re-engage, obviously a 2v3, not a situation he wants to fancy himself in.
Yeah, I mean, good pick up there from Faith, obviously trading a slash for Faith, and maybe that's something they can look to abuse once Faith gets his hands on that Cataclysm. But it's gonna go back to clearing his Krug, actually full clearing twice on Jarvan. I really respect it, but this is also like pretty much typical for a game 1 in a best of 5. Both teams kind of feeling the pressure a bit. Maybe you don't want to do something really crazy. And so far, I think it's kind of favoring Riddle. I think if they stay even in this game and they don't let the Lucian Nami snowball, their team fight is gonna be really insane. They have so much pick potential with the Hecarim, the Seraphine, the Rel, even the Akshan being a little bit stealthy. It can be they can create a lot of chaos in Bifrost backline.
You know, Riddle loves some good chaos, having very good individual players, in particular Jax Plank, one I'm looking at, one of our best top laners in spring. He was such a menace, and his story is insane as well. Came from the GLL, made it to EU Masters with We Love Gaming, had a great individual showing that despite not progressing through the play-ins. And I do believe this is a story that I've heard, that he has to go 30 minutes to an internet cafe to play these competitive games. And for him to still be this good, considering he can't play as regularly as someone up here in the Nordics, maybe where he just have a computer in a living room or in a personal room as well, it's insane to see how good this guy is mechanically.
If that's true, that's actually crazy. That's really respectable from Jax Flank. I mean, he's building himself up quite a bit of lead now. I think the wave is actually bouncing for Shikari too, so pretty much a 20 CS lead for Jax Flank on this Renekton. And people say that Renekton doesn't scale But whenever I see Jackstrike on this champion, I mean, he's absolutely cracked. Like in every fight, he finds some way to be a part of it. He flashes on a carry, make sure that his team can follow up, and he's gonna be a threat the later this game goes.
We'll have a little bit of a chat about that. Bifrost did manage to pick themselves up that first drake of the game. And they do have priority over the spot side. As you can see, Lucianami just constantly pushing in. But how much does this early drake mean? Is this something Bifrost wants to go for? Maybe get some early drake stacking here in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure, right? Getting a Drake early like this is never gonna hurt, especially when it's the Ocean Drake. For sure, like the best one in terms of laning phase, right? I think Shikari is gonna be able to breathe a little bit easier now with that Ocean Drake under his belt. But now the interesting part is gonna see if Bifrost can actually make something out of this. They have top push right now. I think Faith is just covering Shikari to make sure that he can base, or if maybe they just wanna clear out that vision in the river to be able to pressure that Herald. This Herald, this game, I think is gonna be so important. You see already Nash is walking the river to make sure that they can maybe defend their vision, but right now Stefan is clearing his bot side, so Bifrost, they have a window for this Herald start.
They have started up, rotated Shikari down as well, as you mentioned, right? Faith has secured the wave being pushed in, which allows them to just start up through. Has to try and keep somewhat control of this mid lane and successfully does so, evening it out. Rotation now coming through from Riddle. Nash doesn't have the Metal Storm yet. Stefan could look to go in and steal it, but it would not really be a 50-50 anymore as it's done. 5 members of Bifrost up here, same for Riddle, but no one pulls the trigger on the engage.
Yeah, but the winner for Bifrost, Riddle were a bit late on that play. I mean, Faith he just knew it. He knew that Stefan had his whole bot side up. They just decided to start it, make sure that they don't have time to contest it. And in the end, while Bifrost bot lane is pushing a bit towards Riddle, so KO is going to be able to pick that up. For sure, a clear win here for Bifrost.
It's a win for them, and I want to talk more about the bot lane and the Lucianami combo in particular, because yes, they are strong in lane, but from what I've heard through talking with different people, they actually spike more so at one item when they get the Imperial Mandate, get the Gale Force, because their burst just increases tenfold. Is that correct to assume?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure lane phase you are still like quite a strong, especially if people are going for the traded Dirk item a lot of the times just to get that laning pressure. But I mean, for sure, once you get Gale Force and you get your first item on the Nami as well, the Imperial Mandate, I think it's called, then you start rolling people. I mean, that's where you see all these one-taps kind of happening. As I say, that face that still doesn't have flash, he's just gonna die here.
Yeah, they haven't waited 5 minutes, and that's why they take the chance and they pounce for first blood. Great read there from Bifrost.
Yeah, really well played there. I mean, obviously, it's kind of easy, right? By the looks of it, they just see action without flash. They just go for him. Faith now had the Cataclysm, so looked like a free kill there. But it's gonna snowball a lot because Fury already had a 10 CS lead, but now he's got that kill under his belt as well. The first blood, probably gonna be able to finish his Everfrost. Might actually, I think he will. Actually, he has so much CS. I didn't even realize. So once he bases, for sure gonna be able to pick that up. But right now, I feel like Bifrost are not done. Fury is moving towards bot side.
Could look for something, or might just clear out some vision instead. 1.5 minutes in the Drake, maybe some early setup there as this Bifrost bot lane just finishing the pushing on the wave. The thing I will say about the Seraphine though, it allows you to see us from a very good distance. So we do have to be aware here of Face and moving down. Obviously, can't be seen as long as he stays close to the wall, so could be a surprise attack with Stefan holding the mid lane as well, making sure that he's not losing any CS.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like this actually from Face if they can get something done, but if he doesn't, he's just gonna lose away for free, right? So I think Bifrost plays it really well. They respect, they know something fishy is up when the Hecarim randomly shows up on midway, right? And while Fury didn't end up finishing his Everfrost, he's still looking really strong right now. And this is the worrying thing about playing the action, right? I feel like it's a similar champion that if you don't really get ahead early, if you're getting put behind, as Fury and Faith have been doing so far, I feel like it's really, really hard to get back into the game. I feel like Riddle doesn't really have a true carry except for this action.
I want to take a look at Kendall here as well. We talked about the one-item spike, how much that means. Imperial Mandate not yet completed, but the Gale Force has been completed. And with the second Drake spawn in 30 seconds, we talked about it would be nice to get some early Drake scaling, and it should be pretty easy to secure, right, when your Lucian already has his one-item spike.
Yeah, I feel like right now as well, like Bifrost, they have so much tempo on the map. They're already basing. You see Kevin now walking outside of base, and Faith, he's gonna be able to just kill some camps here with his bot lane. They are gonna pop that Herald onto the bot side, and you can only imagine that they're probably gonna go for the Drake next. But right now, Fury is kinda pushing towards that bot side, but Faison is here first, but I feel like Bifrost, they just have good communication right now. They know that Faison is missing. They know he's invisible on the action. They just back off, get those 2 plates, and make sure they get mid prio, because then they are gonna be able to walk into that river for freely.
Yeah, as you say, the river is completely free now for Bifrost. They waited their turn, and now they can start this objective up. Stefan has a way of getting in pretty much every single summon in the book is available, except for Fury's Flash. So that's one thing we can keep our eyes on if Riddle decided to fight this, and they look like they might still be looking for the engage. Is certainly there. Metal Storm is up. It looks like as Kennel very far forward here needs to respect the potential for a counter engage. 1k HP and dropping on the Drake. Smite it away just there. As do they want to fight Bifrost? Quicktimer trying to run out. Knocked up by Stefan. Knocked up. Slowed and CC'd as well, but he's not quite down. But in the front line, it's Kennel. He's locked up. Forced to flash away. Not quite dead, but his support is gone. And now Faison will pick up one more for himself as well. It could be 3. As Faith will find a way out with a good flash. It's a great fight for Riddle as they pick up 2.
Yeah, really crucial for Riddle to at least get something. It looked like Bifrost were just gonna be able to walk off with that Dragon scot-free, but Riddle say no, we're here to fight. And I mean, they got a good engage. I feel like Kennel and Quicktimer were both a little bit too far up in that exchange. Quicktimer using the tidal well really early into the fight. And I mean, most teams, I feel like here, they would just give up the Drake and then get out. And it feels like almost as if Stefan was caught here, but he gets a crucial ultimate into Kevo's ultimate as well. And of course, after that, Kennel, he's just gonna, and you're not surviving that if you're playing an AD carry, that's for sure.
It's a great encore there from Kevo, hitting both of the bot lane members here from Bifrost, and they were already low. It simply was enough setup to give them enough time to take the kill, as now Faison might be a bit too far forward. No flash from the last side, or rather, it was actually some weird graphics there as Faison should still fall. Could not look to trade it back. One more auto will seal it, and he finds one. That is impressive. Well played from Faison.
Yeah, crucial for Faison to at least get something there. But Fury, I mean, we've been talking about this guy Silas for such a long time, and he's 3-0 right now on this, but he has so many good ultimates to choose from. You know, the Renekton, the Hecarim, the Terrafin. Like, he has so many good ultimates in this game, and while he's 3-0 already, I feel like he's really chilling this game. I mean, he's so strong.
And one lane we really haven't talked much about, except for the early part, is the top lane. And could we just have a short check-in here? How is this top lane going? Is anyone overperforming, underperforming? How would you rate this top lane so far?
Yeah, I mean, you see it, right? Jaxplank, as you've been saying, we haven't been putting much attention to the top side at all. I feel like no jungler has been towards that top side. And Jaxplank is so far ahead already on this Renekton.
And we can see why there isn't really much focus on the top side, right? Some ganks have come through mid lane, but both mid laners have also looked for some ganks down in the bot lane. We just saw Fury there trying to potentially look for a dive, or at the very least allow Bifrost to push in the wave. We've also seen Faison rotate down there, so all the attention is on mid and bot side of the map. Interestingly enough, though, now is the time for a Herald to be up, and Faith is there. The problem now is that means there's no help to gain from Bifrost down on the bot side, where they could potentially find themselves in a rough situation. But Riddle's mid and jungle duo look to rotate up to the mid lane and potentially respond to the Herald instead.
Yeah, and I mean, Riddle, as you've been saying about contesting this, right? They're moving as 4-man up to this mid lane to make sure that they can contest the river, but I feel like they're so late on this play already. I mean, someone has to be able to catch that bot wave, right? Or unless you're just gonna lose your tower. But Riddle are saying, hey man, it's just better if we group up. We're gonna drop this bot tower completely to make sure we get that Herald. And while it's pretty much an even trade, right? I mean, Kev is not gonna lose that many CS because this tower goes down. I feel like Riddle are just taking pretty much the easy way. They just don't really they skip some steps. They don't get the prior first on that bot side, but they just leave it, which just allows Kinnel to just take the tower for free.
So they're skipping some steps to be able to gain some objectives, but skipping the steps means that they lose more than they would have normally lost on the play, right? So here they lost a turret, which they wouldn't really have lost had they pushed out the bot lane, but they still did manage to gain the Herald. So it's what would have been a bigger win has now turned into a smaller win here for Riddle. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, right? And I think in some way it's kind of smart, right? I mean, you have already Seraphine, Kevo, and Nash. While they are, I mean, again, when they pick these two champions together against the Lucian Nami, they're just saying that, guys, if you cannot snowball, we're just gonna pretty much outscale you, and we're gonna be in the team fights. We're gonna have so much agency in the fights. But I feel like Kevo and Nash, they have been doing well in this lane phase. They haven't been getting killed. They haven't really fall that far behind. Sure, they don't have pry in this lane, but you're not supposed to. And while now they actually give that turret up, it's completely fine as they just get the Herald, right?
Oh, very good on this weak side. You mentioned that as well earlier on in system. We're seeing it here. Only 15 Cs behind against the Lucian Nami duo on such a weak bot lane that the Seraphine and Riddle is very impressive here. And overall in the CS department, it is looking pretty good. The only exception is really Faison, who has tried to rotate a bit too much. Referee has called some extra wave and built up a little bit of a CSD there for himself.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? Now we are gonna see in 30 seconds this Drake spawning. I don't know what soul is. This the Hextech soul, right? I feel like we're getting trolled
Yes, it is Hextech soul.
by this image. Yeah, okay.
That's a tournament run.
Yeah,
Can never work fully.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. But I feel like this is for sure where we're gonna see the game kind of break or make, right? Because if you give Soul Point up for free to Bifrost, they have so much pressure to play around it. They can just push out lanes with Silas and Fiora, and they can really contest this Soul. But if Riddle gets this, to be able to slow the game down a bit, get KO to 2 items, I feel like the teamfight is gonna be so easy for them to take over. But I feel like right now the tension is big, Duckling. I think we're gonna see a big fight here.
So no flash for the fight. That's really the only cooldown missing. QuickTime I just got his flash back up. Every single ultimate is available in the book as well, so everything could be thrown out here. I should say, very important for Riddle to be able to buy more time, as the Herald gets summoned in mid lane. That means they will have the priority here on the side of Riddle.
Yeah, but Shikari's already pushing out that bot side. He's gonna get the tier of 2 for it. And sure, you traded tier 1 mid, but Shikari, I really like his player. He also has the potential to go for some sort of flank here, but you can only imagine that Riddle is gonna start off this Drake. They wanna force this one out, and while Fury is actually TPing towards the top side, they're just gonna give him up this Drake. And Riddle, they got a tier 1 mid and they stop the snowballing of the Drakes for Bifrost. I really like their play here.
Bifrost should have fought this instead. Is that the call that you think they should have made? Because, as you say, at the moment is a massive win for Riddle. Bifrost will be able to get this top lane turret back. I believe they got some damage on the bot lane turret, but they're sacrificing a lot.
Yeah, I feel like Riddle, they made the kind of the correct choice. They had to get this Drake somehow, right? And by doing, how do you get that? You kind of brute force your way into mid to make sure that the enemy can't really be in the river first. And I think Bifrost recognizes that kind of well, and they're saying, we're not gonna lose the game if we give this Drake up, right? And we just get the tier 2, the tier 1 top for it, rather. And I feel like they recognize that they didn't really have a good way of getting into that river. And that's where it's so important for Bifrost to get, because that's where they can get these kind of double flanks going, right? With Silas, with Jarvan, with Shikari on this Fiora as well. If Riddle are grouped up and together, it's super hard for Bifrost to get something going.
Game has been a slow one, I think that is fair to say. Both teams scaling up, and you talked about earlier, test that Riddle. We're happy to say, if you can't snowball, we will scale up and outplay you. And you mentioned a lot of teamfight agency, but is there an item breakpoint you're looking for as well as Bifrost? Find a pick on Faison.
Yeah, I mean, I think once Fury gets his hands on that Sonya's, he's probably gonna be able to pick it up after that base, after that kill onto Faison. I mean, Fury is forced it already on Silas. That's pretty much their whole lead on Bifrost. I feel like no one else is really that far ahead. But I think Bifrost just has to keep doing this. They have been playing really well around Fury in this early game. They need to keep doing that. He has to be the pressure point, because as we mentioned, the Lucian Nami are not as far ahead as you maybe would have expected. Now we see this replay. I mean, Faison, he's just facing on top side, doesn't really have the vision for it, and Fury blocks that hook really nicely well there from the Akshan. And this is what Fury and Faith have to keep doing, right? I said that Faith, he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders this game, but it seems like he has chosen to just play for his veteran in the mid lane, and it looks like it's working out so far.
All 4 kills on him. I can't believe Faison just got Hexgated. He wasn't expecting anyone to be there, because I think this one pretty soon reset. But the Hexgates allow you to get out on the map so much earlier. And a great punish there from Bifrost. They will sit on that 1k lead, but it's important to highlight at the 21-minute mark with Baron on the map as well, that 1k gold, it doesn't really change anything and can very quickly go into Riddle's favor.
Yeah, I think for Riddle's thing, I think it's so important to kind of do a similar thing what Fury and Faith have been doing. You need to play with your Renekton. This guy, Jaxpack, has been performing really well in the lane so far, and he has built himself enough of a lead to have a shutdown on this Renekton actually. But if they can kind of play with him on the side, it's a lot easier for Riddle to make plays happening. You see now, they're kind of forced to just respond to what Bifrost is doing, because Fury is always going to have the move onto that mid lane. And Riddle and Stefan and Jaxplank, they have to do the same on the bot side.
Riddle do have the ability to look for an engage out of nowhere if they feel like it. Onslaught of Shadows, Metal Storm as well. It's a lot of different engage tools they have at that disposal. The question just is when will they pull the trigger? Because a lot of this game, just has been Bifrost being the one proactively looking for the picks and deciding we want to fight this. As opposed to this time, maybe where Riddle actually go for it. Face and looks to be caught out, but instead they trade 1-for-1. Kevo though forced to flash away as Faith is just tanking up in the front line for ages, still not dead. As now a re-engage comes through, Stefan will pick up the kill. Ison Jetblank, he has the burst damage and he will try to put it on Fury, but he goes gold with his dodge to buy crucial space and allow Colonel to pick up the kill on Stefan. Great fight here for Bifrost, taking down 3.
That was the first time we saw Riddle actually going for some Practive on their own. You talked about it, Ducklin. They have been only responding to Bifrost plays this entire game. But now, finally, as they go for it, Bifrost, they are ready on the instantly. Fury is there. He has his stopwatch, as you were saying, buying so much time. Jaxman couldn't really get a flank going there on his Renekton, even with his TP. And Bifrost, they're gonna be able to brute force this mid tower down. They pick up some kills, and Bifrost finally in a comfortable lead in this game.
To reset for both teams, it feels like, because in just 1 minute, Soul Point available yet again for Bifrost. Riddle bought 5 more minutes last time. They want to do it here again because now Fury was strong before. 5-0-1. He has 10 stacks there on that Dark Shield. Could go into a Medjais if Namara fancies watching another game of a book.
Yeah, I mean, that would be insane, right? It's in a best of 5 the first game, you're allowed to go Medjais and completely take over the game. I think this Drake is looking like it's probably just gonna be Riddles all over again. I mean, Fury has the TP, but I don't see really a way for Bifrost to get into this river comfortably. I think they're just gonna push out and get vision on that top side. Jaxplank, while he is playing the Renekton, I mean, once again, has more than 10 CS per minute. He has 2 items already, has the Prowler's Claw finish on his Renekton, and his flash up. He is really strong this fight.
Flag there from Faith to spot out 3 members of Riddle waiting to try and pull off a counter attack. But you're saying it, what are Bifrost doing? Well, they're just pushing on the edges, but they want to TP in on the flank ward highlighted before by our lovely observer. 7k HP and dropping. Fury on the flank, level 14, so it doesn't quite have that level 16 ulti. Great engage, they're on to 2, and Kevo is locked up, taken down in the front line is Stefan, but he's not long for this world either. Running out, trying to turn it, but Fury somehow still alive. He just won't fall, and Bifrost take 4.
And Bifrost, they get the perfect fight going. You said it, Ducklin, the highlight, observing the TP coming in from Fury. Riddle didn't realize, and then he took the Rel ultimate. They got a perfect engage with Fate's Cataclysm onto 3 people. And Kill without flash has to just say goodnight on his Seraphine. They got a 5-4-0. They're gonna get the Drake, the Nasher, Bifrost, they're taking everything.
They have taken over the game. What was just 3-4 minutes ago, a 1k goal lead will now balloon into something that is out of reach for Riddle. You have to feel that scaling needs to come through quicker than initially expected because Bifrost are turning on the heat.
Yeah, I mean, now for sure at Bifrost with their 2 foot on the gas pedal, they're just increasing, accelerating this game. And we are gonna look at that juicy TP flank coming in from Fury. I mean, I don't think Riddle even spotted this, and when they do, it's already too late. Riddle, they were kind of fooled there. They had the control over River, but that ward, that sneaky little ward, enables it all for Bifrost. Faith gets the triple Cataclysm, and even though Kevo's ultimate was good with his Encore, it's not nearly enough, and Bifrost just completely melts Riddle.
It's insane. Look at Fury here, hiding around the fight. Stefan tries to re-engage onto him, but they don't have the damage, just barely. And that's a big shutdown that they missed out on there. Facing gets picked up in the end by Shikari here as he got caught out, trying to sneak out to safety. There was no safety this fight for Riddle as they lost all 5. Clean ace. They got a Drake, I do believe. As I am hearing audio as this fight has started, and it has Kennel down. Fury in the front line, down to 20% HP, has to try and find a magical way out. But that's 2 big shutdowns in the hand of Riddle. Somehow, though, Jaxplank tries to find a flank, but gets flanked by Shikari and Faith. So now it's a 3v4, but it's Bifrost without their main carries backing off.
I mean, we got completely caught off guard, and actually we go into coming off of that replay, and Riddle finds themselves 2 kills. I mean, Nash actually gets both of these. He gets 2 shutdown on this Rel, and maybe that's not the champion you want your gold on. Riddle are gonna be able to stop that snowballing on the Nasher, and Shikari is gonna be able to pick up the tier 2, but Riddle trading 1-for-1 and also getting kills under their belt. They're stopping this bleeding now for themselves.
Situation, a 1-for-1 in that sense is something Riddle are completely satisfied with. They take everything, even if it's even. Let's see what happens here as we were in the replay. Is it Kevo catching him out, or maybe Stefan going no? Nash jumps over, and the follow-up engage is incredible. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, and Kennel's flash was just a little bit out of reach there, didn't quite have it. And Nash, I mean, finds a great opportunity there to deny Bifrost snowballing factor on that Nasher. And now, I mean, Bifrost, they still have some time to play with the Nasher, but it's not like they can set something up. Maybe they get that tier 2 top tower, but that's pretty much it. And while Riddle, they are still 6k gold behind. They still have only one Drake compared to Bifrost 3. Bifrost very much still in the driving seat. It's really a lot of hope, pretty much, for Riddle to be able to find something proactive like that.
You mentioned it initially, but I want to highlight how important it is. The shutdowns on Kennel and Fury were massive, so for both of them to go over to Nash is a huge bummer for Riddle. Someone like Facing could have used that 1.5, maybe even 2,000 gold was in these two carries. And you can see it in the gold lead. Nash is now 1,000 gold ahead of his opponent. All that gold could have been used so much better by someone like Facing, Kevo, or even Jack Plank.
Yeah, that's just crazy, right? And it's just really unfortunate. I mean, I don't think Nash probably weren't thinking I'm gonna last it is the kills, right? But Bifrost now contesting the Raptor camp. That's ever so important. And looks like the game is gonna now slow down a bit. I mean, Bifrost Nash, it's gonna be out. You're not gonna be able to get any more towers with that. I think they only got the tier 2 bot tower actually on that Nash. So once again, while Riddle got so much gold on Nash, which is maybe not what you want, they stopped the siege from Bifrost, which is so important, right? And they get another chance on this Hextech soul point for Bifrost that is coming up in 90 seconds.
And I think an important thing you're highlighting with that as well is they now know they can win the fights if they get the right engage. They can get the picks, they still have the damage, and you've talked so much about the scaling and agency in teamfights. That's when we saw it. The opportunity for the engage, the follow-up will definitely be there as well. Very good, well played from Riddle, and it hampered the use that Bifrost had with the Baron. You mentioned it, only getting that one turret, and had both Kennel and Fury not died there, they would have probably maybe even cracked open the base.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, they are so far ahead at this point that they should have been able to brute force their way into that. I'm just kind of looking at the items right now, and I see Shikari actually picking up the hull breaker for himself, so maybe this is signalizing that Bifrost just want to play for the split push regardless, and maybe don't even give the opportunity to Riddle to get a comeback in a team fight like this. But Shikari, actually level 17? I think he wins this actually. Okay,
yeah, it's a 1v2 to the reactor. Perfectly great wait there from Jax Plank, knowing that the riposte would come through. Almost not enough. 600 gold bounty plus the 300 for the kill. That's 900 cash straight into Faison's bank account.
Okay, I thought Shikari was unkillable, but I thought it was Superman. But Faison's going in.
You want something back. Good damage into Kevo, but no kill quite yet. 15 seconds on the Drake here. TP can come in from Shikari, but they have to wait 35 more seconds.
Yeah, but so many ultimates used for Riddle. Maybe Bifrost can actually buy time for this. I mean, Riddle, really good pickup there to make sure they get Shikari before the Drake is spawning. And you have to imagine that Bifrost, they are gonna let this one up, right? Surely. It's a 4v5.
So few ultimates. Only really the Metal Storm is available. Smite, though, is, and they go in Metal Storm onto Kennel, but no damage really there. The objective bounty has been claimed. That's Riddle stealing that away. In comes Fury with the onslaught of shadows, but the damage not quite there to follow up. Kennel on the backline, he's slow, still dishing out the damage, and Jax Plank evaporates somehow, some way.
Shikari's up.
Shikari back up, TP's into the flag and drag, but no, they just revived them both. So Bifrost needs to be careful as a full squad of Riddle is coming up. Kevo, though, will fall here. Encore connects. And it's a scrappy fight, but that kill was massive because 4 members of Riddle now alive.
Really scrappy fight, and in the end it was a 50-50 that decided that Drake, and Stefan gets the better end of a faith there this time around. They deny the soul for Bifrost, which is ever so crucial. And even though Bifrost are still in the driving seat pretty much for this last 10 minutes, I feel like Riddle, they are just not giving up. Even though they are so far behind right now, they're getting the Drake, making sure that the final nail in the coffin for Bifrost cannot be taken.
You said it yourself, Riddle are fighting back. This game is not over yet. And we're seeing both of the different team strength. In these extended fights, when it's very split, it feels like Bifrost has a bit of an advantage. But in these clumped up situations, where it's Riddle pulling the trigger in small areas, they have so much AoE damage and so much CC that it's impossible to deal with, even if Bifrost is ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? I think this is, for sure, has to be the comeback factor for Riddle. They have to make sure that they keep getting these fights that they want. But Fury, he wants Stefan.
Doesn't have a lot of mana. Also, the Shadows should still be available despite the low mana pool. There he goes. Just had enough mana. Had he not had that, he could have been in serious trouble. So now maybe Fury needs to be careful. Baron has been started up as well, I do believe. Or maybe they're just taking the vision. No, it started 11k HP.
Shikari already has this bot wave pushing Riddle. They are forcing Riddle right now to make a really hard decision. Do you go to defend that bot side or do you contest this Nashor? Shikari doesn't even have the TP. You have to feel like Bifrost. They're just baiting this. They're just buying time for Shikari on that bot side. They just have to not get engaged upon. Riddle are grouped up as fire right now. They don't have flash on the rel. And Shikari is just gonna open the base.
But there is so much engage in Riddle, so they can just pull the trigger, but they are lacking the summoners. The flashes are not there. The ultimate's not quite off cooldown as well. Onslaught of Shadows can't be used offensively when it had just been used defensively. And now in the fight, the Encore comes through for both sides. The re-engage though onto quick time is great, and he's one-shotted. Kennel is destroyed by the Crocodile. Jackblank takes him, but Shikari, he's on the base. You need to get back. Riddle, the cooldowns are there, but Shikari is hitting the Nexus and he's taking it in to his own hands.
Shikari ends the game for Bifrost. I've seen this so many times where he just carries the game, and Bifrost, they buy so much time in that pit, in that Nashor, to make sure Shikari can just walk down the Nexus for Riddle and just take it on for Bifrost.
I cannot believe it. What a back and forth game. I thought after that decisive fight around the Baron that it would have been an easy win for Bifrost, but no. Riddle fought back, delayed the game. But that Hullbreaker and that split push damage from Fiora was insane there from Shikari. As in his 265th game, he has an incredible back door to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, he played well, but it was really fun to watch his Fiora.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. As I do just have to check what we will be doing after this, if we'll be going into a break. Thank you, producer, whispering in my ear finally. So, I do believe it is time to take it away from me and M-Test and throw it over to our lovely and very handsome desk.
Danke.
Oh.
Okay. Eragon, you needed to do a face, you needed to do a face.
Yeah. I don't know.
Welcome back to the desk after this interesting game coming in from Bifrost and Riddle. Obviously, Bifrost taking this game 1-0. We need to understand how they did it and what happened. Maybe on the draft. Let's start with the draft. I think it's really important. What do you guys want to highlight from the draft that is so important?
Win conditions. Let's talk about win conditions, because this frames the entire game. Because you look at the Hecarim and you look at the lanes that are put with it. You look at Riddle's draft and it's effectively, these solo lanes will allow the Hecarim to get into the game, and we will reach our team fight combo. So that means you have to understand, Riddle are all inning on their team fight combo. Most of the game revolves around what happens with that combo.
And yeah, I completely agree, right? And I feel like they didn't do enough to get there. Maybe they thought that if they did nothing, they would win at team fights. But then you have the counters like the Hullbreaker. They just refused to team fight into that death ball. I think it was a couple times they actually did, but which were mistakes in my eyes. But yeah, I think Bifrost definitely did play around that win condition of being a death ball by like splitting towards the end there with that Hullbreaker. I think it was good.
If you guys want to talk about interesting fights, let's start with the first one, where it seemed like Riddle were finally waking him, like, okay, this is our composition, we need to play this thing. Nightmare.
This is where it starts from, because this is what Riddle are going to try and replicate for the rest of the game. They have a one-directional fight, all of their ultimates can go in the same direction, and no one gets to move. Look at how much the Lucian can do in this fight, or actually lack thereof. Completely shut out of the fight. The Hecarim ult is onto multiple members. The Seraphine ult is onto multiple members. And as soon as that Lucian is down, like, you really struggle after that point to have the consistent damage output. That is, I'm not going to say gold standard, because it's still not a perfect combo, but that's the idea. You shut out the carries, you take the fight in one direction, so all of your skills go onto multiple targets, and they can't fight back.
Yeah,
then I have more. Yeah, tell me, Eragon.
Yeah, just to highlight exactly what you said, you hinted the one direction of the engage, right? But then you have Bifrost who identifies that and comes in at 4 different angles, right? And all these flanks that they kept setting up.
Yeah, I'd actually like to do a dramatic reenactment. Has anyone seen Revenge of the Sith at the Star Wars movie, the third one? Master Fury, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Oh no.
That's what happened in that game. Because what happens after that point is, we can go into the second replay. What happens when you get a flank at this point? Because
you mean the second replay, so
it's all well and good if everything goes in the one direction, all this other stuff. Yeah, cool, awesome. Yeah, you've flubbed your combo. Yeah, you don't actually get to take this fight evenly after this point.
Yeah, and the second Action dies, right? He's a lot of their damage. If you think about what this comp actually does, it's Wombo combo, but then it also it's on the back of DPS with the AD carry in the mid lane, buffed by a Seraphine, right? So the second Action dies and trades 1-for-1 for a Nami. It's not an even trade, and the fight's just over because of the lack of DPS.
Yeah, and I think the real thing here is that you have like this huge Wombo combo to land on multiple people, which is meant to stop people from moving. Because if you allow them to move, Fiora, one of the most mobile champions in the game, once you build up, multiple points in your queue, and once you get into 2 items plus, like that Fiora is not going to stop moving. Same with the Silas. When you've got stuff like the Hecarim ult, you got E as well, and Lucian really needs no extra introduction for that point. You don't land that CC, you don't win that fight, and that continues onwards into the third fight where they have that same ability to not just kite around, but also close that gap as well. So this is like the other fight where it's like, okay, right, you managed to group up, cool. Death Ball is here. Yeah, but the multiple direction is kind of
Look
coming
at
to
Hecarim's
fruition from
positioning
Bifrost again.
compared to Seraphine's. They are not on the same page. Like Stefan, until very late on into that fight, was looking at the dragon and still hitting it, whereas Seraphine identified the flank and was running away. So it's definitely not only just draft, but also some gameplay errors. Like maybe they're not on the same page. You know, maybe the prep wasn't called. Like, do they back up into the pit? Who knows? But they weren't on the same page just there.
Which is kind of strange, right? Because look, in summer, they did have a lot of Seraphine, Ashe, Senna games, stuff like that in summer, actually. They played quite a lot of utility bot lanes with high engaged junglers, top laners, something like that, right? This is something that this team has done quite a lot of for Riddle. Now, that is why it's so important for us to start off with that draft and say, this is your win condition. This is how you play the game. And you could see the thought process and how they started building towards it later and later. And they did deny several flanks that game, but it wasn't quite all there. It wasn't quite all on the same page. And that last, couple of percent in differences in terms of where your mindset is, where you're clicking on in the team fight as well, that leads to a team fight win or a loss.
Okay, and so this is what we get from the first game. And before we toss it to the second one, we have a pause, but a small one, because I want to dive into the way both teams drafted, what they can do and change for the second game. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a few minutes.